What's up, guys? Stacy here from Becoming Financially Fit, and today we have an interesting topic to talk about. We're going to be talking about house hacking and how you can get into it, or maybe if you're already into it, how you can expand and start to make some more money to pay your rent, your mortgage, or just to gain some extra income. Before we get into the content, my channel is about personal finance, financial literacy, savings, investing, and I also make videos about entrepreneurship as well. So if you're interested in any of those topics, make sure you subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell to be updated anytime I post new content. All right, let's get into the content. Okay, so what is house hacking? It's a pretty simple concept, and a lot of people have probably done it before. So house hacking is essentially either renting out spare bedrooms that you have, or if you're a landlord, just renting out additional units on one particular property that you have. This is great because it can bring in extra revenue, and it can lower your costs for your liabilities. So that can be in the form of either your rent or your mortgage. So this is something that a lot of people should know about, but a lot of people don't. So we'll get into some of the different facets of house hacking. So maybe you can start to build some extra residual income. So one of the main questions a lot of individuals have when it comes to house hacking is, do I need to own my own home to house hack? And plain and simple, the answer is no. There are two different types of house hacking strategies that you can use to start to build some extra income. The first of which is rent hacking. And what that pretty much means is that you have an apartment that you're in, and that apartment either has a couch, either has some extra bedrooms that you're not using, a basement, an attic, anywhere where you can put someone up and they can stay there for an extended period of time. And there's going to be two different types. So this could be in the form of a roommate. So let's say you have an apartment and you're paying $1,000 a month for rent, and you have an extra bedroom or you have a couch. What you can do is you can bring in a roommate, and maybe that roommate can pay you $500 to split the apartment in half. Or if you want to upcharge them, they can pay $800, and then you only have to pay $200. So it's essentially lowering the amount of money you have to pay towards that particular property. Another good option when you're just renting is to do something like an Airbnb, especially if you live in an urban area like a New York City or a LA, or Miami, where a lot of people are coming to travel. Usually what people do is if they have a spare bedroom, or they have, like I said, a basement or an attic or a garage that has a living space in it, what they'll do is they'll put that on Airbnb and they can make some extra income. I actually made a full video about house hacking and how that pertains to Airbnb. So if you guys want to check out the Airbnb specific information, I'll leave that video up there and you guys can check that out. The second type is actually house hacking. And this is when you actually do own your own home. And like I said, you have some either extra bedrooms or extra living spaces or extra units. So if you have one home, like a single family home that you want to house hack, that just means that you're renting out other spaces. This probably wouldn't be good for someone with a family, but if you're a first time home buyer and you're living in the home alone and you do have some extra bedrooms, this is a good way to lower that mortgage payment and bring in some extra income for you. Another option is if you have a multifamily property, then what you could do is you can start to bring in extra tenants. So if you, let's say, live in a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, any type of multifamily home, you can essentially live in one unit and pay the mortgage. Let's say, using the same example again, your mortgage is $1,000. If you rent out each one of those units, let's say you live in a fourplex, you can rent each one out for $500. Then you'll be making an income of $1,500, which not only covers your mortgage of $1,000, but also brings in $500 of extra income that goes into your pocket. So this is how house hacking can come into play when you essentially want to live for free, but also, use the home that you're living in for your benefit. So now, what are some of the benefits of house hacking? Well, just off the bat, essentially, if you can stage it in such a way that you get someone into your house and they're paying more than you need to pay for your rent or your mortgage, then you can essentially live for free. And this is one of the great things that a lot of people do when they actually get into house hacking. If you do have a couple of extra bedrooms or a basement, like I said, or an attic, and you start to bring in some extra individuals, either on a month-to-month basis or in an actual lease, or you're just doing like an Airbnb weekend type of thing, you can actually live for free. So you wouldn't have to rely on your everyday job as your only source of income. You can actually start to bring in some income on the side and essentially live for free. Another benefit is you actually have a side hustle. This would be considered a business, and this business can scale. A lot of people want to start side hustles, but they really don't know what to do. And it could be as simple as just renting out an extra bedroom. And like I said, this can bring in some significant income if you actually stage it right. Another benefit, and this is probably one of the best benefits, is mortgage paydown. What a lot of people do to accelerate this house hacking process is, let's go back to that same example. If your mortgage is $1,000 and you're comfortable with paying that $1,000 and you bring in two roommates and they're each paying you $500, now what a lot of people do to essentially pay off their mortgage early or put some extra payments towards that mortgage is they'll not only pay $1,000 towards their mortgage with their own income, but they'll also use the additional money, that additional $1,000 that they're getting from their two roommates, to pay down the mortgage as well. So you have one payment, your normal mortgage payment that you would be paying regardless of if you had roommates or tenants or not, and then you're putting extra money towards the principal. And essentially that's going to cut your mortgage in half. So not only are you going to be able to essentially live for free if you want to, but you can also speed up that process by using that extra money to pay down the principal amount on your mortgage. One of the last benefits of house hacking is the fact that eventually over time, if you get to a point where you're actually starting to get a bunch of roommates, or you have a multifamily property and you're getting a bunch of tenants, what you can do is you can use the income from that property to essentially move out. Let's go back to our example of a multifamily fourplex. If your mortgage on that is $1,000 and you have 4 units and each one of those units is paying you, let's say $500, you're essentially already covering your mortgage. So what you could do is you could move out, rent out that fourth, and you'd be gaining $2,000 in income. You could then go out and purchase another multifamily with another mortgage of $1,000. And not only will your first fourplex be paid for, full and clear by the first property, but also the second will be paid full and clear by the second property. So now that extra $2,000 that you're bringing in the second property is all income, and that means it's all profit. So not only, like I said, are you going to be able to live for free, but you can scale this over time to essentially live in one for a year or two, move out, get another one, do the same thing, move out, get another one. And if you get 4 or 5 of these, you could be bringing in some significant income on a month-to-month basis, and all of your liabilities will be covered in that process. Before we get into some of the downsides of house hacking, guys, drop a comment below and let me know if you guys have a roommate and if you guys are house hacking now, or if you're thinking about getting into house hacking in the future. But let's get into some of those downsides of house hacking. So one of the first downsides of house hacking is the fact that you essentially become a landlord. If you have a multifamily, then you have to deal with tenants, you have to deal with repairs, maintenance, not only your mortgage, but also taxes and insurance. You're pretty much liable for everything that happens in that property. And this is something that a lot of people are weary about because they might not want to deal with it on an ongoing basis. But let's say if you just have an apartment and you're renting it, you still have to deal with tenants coming in and out. They might break things, and you're liable for it because your name is on that lease. So that's one of the big downsides of house hacking. So it's something to watch out for. One of the other downsides of house hacking is the fact that you have to live either with someone or near someone. So if you just had an apartment and you wanted to rent it out to some roommates, you have to live with them, and you might butt heads with them. You might not like them, but if you have a lease with them, then you have to live with them. And this is something that essentially a lot of people want to get to the point where they want to either live with themselves, or if they have a family, they wouldn't want to get into this house hacking situation. The other situation is if you have a multifamily unit, you're going to be living right next door to one of your tenants. So if you're ever loud or they're ever loud, you have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And usually a lease is around 1 to 2 years. So if they're annoying and they're hard to deal with, then they're going to be annoying for a whole year or two. And if they're breaking things inside, then those are all going to be things that you have to deal with when you have a multifamily property. So it's not something that, you can have your own single family home with your yard and everything like that, and you won't hear any of your neighbors because they're going to be right next door to you if you live in a multifamily unit. One of the last downsides of house hacking is the fact that some people get into the habit of relying on others for income. And this could happen if you have roommates and you're splitting, let's say, a lease. If one of those roommates can't afford it, then you actually have to cover it. Or if you have a multifamily unit and you have a mortgage on it, if all of your tenants don't pay, then that money has to be paid each and every month by you. And this is something that is big right now because of the pandemic. A lot of people are getting laid off right now. I think we're close to 40 million individuals here in the US that are unemployed. So imagine if that was one of your roommates or that was one of your tenants. You can kiss that money goodbye because you're not going to be paying. And in some states like here in New York, you can't even evict them. So that's something to watch out for when you're house hacking. Just making sure you do have some reserves set aside. So if something like this happens where an individual like a roommate or a tenant can't afford to pay for a number of months, you're good and you have some money in either an emergency fund or reserve set aside so you don't have to worry about it. So now the big question is, should you house hack? And from my point of view, I think it's a no-brainer. Absolutely yes. House hacking allows you to build wealth, and it allows you also to pay down some debts and liabilities. So you can be bringing in extra income to essentially live for free over a period of time. And you can also be using some of that extra income to pay down your mortgage and other liabilities if you have them. So in a sense, it's a win-win situation. You get to not only live for free, but you could also eventually bring in some extra income, pay down some of your liabilities, and build assets in the form of real estate properties over a period of time. House hacking is also going to allow you to build up some cash flow. And this cash flow is excellent because it's separate from your normal employment income. And everyone needs to have a source of income outside of their employment source of income. Because like I said, if you were to get laid off, then that extra source of income or being able to live for free is definitely going to come in handy. Really, the entire goal of house hacking is to eventually become financially free or to get to that point where you're financially independent and you don't have to depend on a normal W-2 job to pay the bills. Any revenue that you bring in from house hacking is a win, and every dollar over your minimum mortgage or rent payment that you receive is profit. So you can start to see the benefits over time is if you start to build up income and more income because you have multiple roommates or multiple tenants living with you or around you, then you start to see those huge benefits where you can essentially, like I said, live for free and also make money on the side. But that was just a quick run through of house hacking and how house hacking can benefit you if you're a renter, if you have a mortgage, or if you're thinking about getting a multifamily home in the future. So if you guys like what I talked about today, make sure you smash that like button. It really helps me out a lot, and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell to be updated anytime I post new content. I'm going to try to put out a couple videos a week. So if you guys are liking the information that I'm putting out, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys soon.